Well, good morning. Morning, and welcome to Unity Church of Overland Park. And welcome to this day where we celebrate our core values, our values of love, of joy, inclusiveness, of abundance, and of living our lives spirit-led. So, in fact, let's take this opportunity before we get too much farther into our service today to just turn within, to that power and presence of God within ourselves. If it's comfortable, we may close our outer eyes, but at this time, our inner eye remains wide open to seeing the truth that is being revealed to us in this moment, open to knowing that there exists within us a power greater than anything we ever could have imagined. A power that inspires us to look with love onto the world. A power that inspires us to act from its sense of peace and justice. And so in this moment, we commit to shining that power as us. And for that, we are grateful. Amen.
And so now let's all stand and join together and sing Witness.
To all that are
us now prepare as Fred and Kelly lead us into a time of meditation.
Blessed always, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen.
As we rest in God and say amen, our love, our joy overflows. And this day, as we look at our sacred core values of Unity Church of Overland Park and who it is that we have come here to be, we are spirit-led, looking and listening to the guidance of Spirit in all that we do and all that we say. We are love. We are love expressing in, through, and as us as a spiritual community in every interaction, in our thoughts, in our activities. We hold that sacred space of love, of life in all things. We are an abundant spiritual community, rich in so many ways, in relationship, in belonging, in faith, in prayer, in finances, in talent. We are a vibrantly abundant community. And we are inclusive. This is a soul home for everyone. There is a place for all. No matter what your circumstances, no matter what your background, no matter anything, this is a place for all. And this is a place of joy. That deep joy of being grounded in the presence of Spirit, in the teachings and love that is ours to express. The joy that is not a sense of fleeting happiness, because that may come and go, but rather a joy that bubbles up from the very depths of our being in knowing that we are a committed people. Spirit-led, love, abundance, inclusiveness, and joy. Let us go into the silence and meditate on these values in the silence. And as we move forward from this centered space in harmony and unity, we are a powerful presence for good in our community and the world. And this is how we live our mission and our vision. And so we go forward this day with a renewed energy of deeply knowing who we have been called to be. Spirit-led, love, abundance, inclusiveness, and joy. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen.
Well, it was Mahatma Gandhi that first said that our values define our destiny. And I was thinking about that idea, especially as how it related to this vision that we have here, this vision to become authentic in all that we do, and authentic in who and what we are. And to me, that idea of authenticity and of living from your authentic self, well, it all boils down to being in integrity with those things that we value, with the values we have in our life, as well as with the truth of what we know of who and what we are. Of being in integrity with that idea that we are the presence of God, we are the light of God. And it's our values that determine that. It's the values that we hold that help us inform how we decide we feel about whether it's a particular political issue. And there was an interesting exercise I saw and then decided I didn't want to be tar and feathered. But the idea was that I would throw out just somewhat controversial political statements, and then in your mind, you would say, well, I agree with that, or I don't agree with that. Those are your values that tell you I agree or don't agree. So if you want to do that exercise at home on your own, I would invite you to do that. You can go to CNN or Fox News or whatever website you want and just go down the list and go agree, disagree, agree, disagree. But it's our values that inform us of how we respond to those things. Our values even inform what we like to do for fun. And although today we are setting aside a little bit of time to sort of revitalize, rededicate, and recommit ourselves as a spiritual community to the core values of Unity Church of Overland Park, the other thing that I know to be true is that our values are unique to us. They're as unique to each person in this room as your DNA is. Sure, we might have similar values like abundance, but they tend to mean something different for each individual person. And so because I know that's the case, before we just dive into what our community core values are, I thought I'd like to spend just a little bit of time talking about how you can identify what your core values are. And there's a very important reason for this. First of all, your values are going to change over time. As your consciousness grows, as your life conditions change, the things that you value change. And I don't say this to say that I didn't value family before, but I got to tell you, once Harper was born, family became a much different value for me than it ever had been in the past. So your values will change. And if we're not able to be aligned with those values, we end up falling into this sort of gap. This gap that leads us to not fully express the truth of what we are, and it happens for a variety of reasons. You know, as I said, your values are your own. But you might be sitting here later listening to me talk about our value of inclusiveness and go, you know, that's a pretty good value. I like that value of inclusiveness. You see, there's nothing wrong with adopting or identifying with the values of an organization or a religion. But we have to be very, very careful that we don't let those values compromise and overshadow our own. And when that happens, that's when we exist in this gap. This gap that tends to remind us that we are separate from that divine light within us. And that gap has a way of sneaking up on you more so than you would ever think. In fact, let's do a little, before we go too much farther, let's do a little bit of an activity here. Don't worry, you don't have to talk to anybody next to you. You don't even have to look at them. This is all something you're going to do just in your mind. So the first thing that we're going to think about, I want you to think through your past, let's say your past week. And just think through those things that took your time. Think through those things that took your mental activity, that you spent a lot of time thinking about. All right, Fred, could you help us out? Maybe give us a little bit of thinking music here. Perfect. All right, so just think to yourself, what did I spend my time on? Got something? Good. Now we're going to think about something different. I want you to think about what's really important to you. You might say what you value. So Fred, could we get a little bit more music to think by? Okay, so think about what it is you value. And I think we're done with that now. So, yeah, you don't have to think. No more thinking. You're done thinking for this Sunday. Well, he is. You're not. So think about those two lists. Think about what you spent your time on, and then think about what you value. How much overlap is there in those two things? How much time did you spend focused on the things that were really important to you? Or how much time did you spend focused on those things that were just taking up your time? You see, that's the gap that can exist between what we value and the way that we're experiencing the world around us. That's the gap that starts to show up in our lives when we begin to compromise or push down or refuse to accept those core values that we have. And once we fall into that gap, we begin to believe that we are separate from the light and love of God that we are. We begin to believe that there's something external from us out there that we have to find to regain that value that we feel like we've lost. But the good news is there's a way to reclaim who and what we are. There's a way to reclaim those core values. And you have to engage with them. You have to engage with what it is that you value. And so let's just talk a little bit about how you can find those things that you value in your life. Now, I understand that I might sound a little bit like Billy Mays here, trying to push something on you, but you too can identify your core values in just 5 easy steps for the low, low price of whatever you feel led to put in the purple bag when it comes by you here in a little bit. Now, 5, I say easy steps because they're easy to remember, but honestly, I did this work this week. It'll stretch you if you let it. The process isn't always easy. The steps might be easy to remember, but the process can be difficult. And so the first step, the first thing you want to do if you're ready to identify what those values are for you, if you're ready to find out even if they've changed, the very first step is to take a piece of paper, your journal, you can even open the Notes app on your phone. And at the top of whatever it is you're going to write this on, write the words, my core values. And then you're going to get quiet. You're going to close your eyes, you're going to turn within, take a couple of breaths, connect with God, however you define that, and ask yourself, what's important to me? What is it that's important to me? And then you're going to write. You're going to write down what comes to you. You're going to write down the thoughts, the feelings that you have, and know that it's really easy to question something when it comes up. It's really easy to go, wait a minute. Don't question it. Just write it down. Because the first step is to develop that list of all of those things that are important to you. But if you just stop there, you have this list of words, and this list of words may not have the meaning for you that you think it does. So you go on to step 2. And in step 2, you're going to take each one of those values that you found, all of those things that you said were important to you, and then you're going to ask yourself, what does, insert the value here, mean to me? So I'll give you an example. When I did this, one of the words that came up for me was strength. That was one of the values I found. So I asked myself, what does strength mean to me? And what came to me was that it meant that I was confident, I was self-assured. It meant that I knew I was connected to that power within me, and I lived from that place. So that helped me identify how I saw that value working in my life. If Reverend Jan asked herself what strength meant to her, it might be totally different, because what she values is different. So you ask yourself, what does blank value mean to me? And then you answer that question. Now the third step is the one that people always tell me they don't like to do, and I get it. You have this wonderful list of values, but what we're trying to do is find our core values. And so you might have this list of 15 or 20 values, but the thing is, the human brain can only really remember about 7. It can only really effectively work with 7 of them at a time. And so that's where you get to that third step. That third step is choosing. I like choosing better than eliminating. But you're going to choose the ones that are really important to you. And I already hear some of you saying, Brandon, I have 8. I really love 8. Do I have to cut 1? Yes, you do. No, you can't keep 8. Cut it down to 7, because the truth is your brain's going to eliminate 1 anyway. So how do you do this? Well, the way I found that works best is if you take a piece of paper, just one piece of paper, or you can make scrap paper, one for each value, and then just spread them out in front of you. And close your eyes, connect with that presence of God, and ask yourself, if I had to live my life without any one of these values, which one would it be? I know it's a tough question to ask, but stretch yourself. And when that answer comes, just slide that one off to the side and keep repeating that until you get down to 7. And if you're really curious, like I was, and you want to know which value is the key value for your life, just keep asking yourself, which one of these could I live my life without, until you get to that one value left. And that's your key value. That's the value that really guides and directs how you interact with the world, how you decide, how you, like I said earlier, like to have fun. But you have to do that choosing process to get to step 4. You see, it's great to have this wonderful list of values, but we have to know how we'll be successful in living them in our lives. And so one of the best ways to do that is just to ask yourself, at the end of my life, how will I know that I successfully lived a Spirit-led life? At the end of my life, how will I know that I successfully lived a life devoted to my family? So you can take that same piece of paper that you had earlier, and you write the core value at the top. You write love at the top. And then you get to play Mad Libs, because you write out below it, I will know I have loved successfully when. And just write. You get about a paragraph or so. From that, you'll be able to get a statement, an identity statement. We have statements for each one of these core values, and you'll see them a little bit later on in the service, so you kind of get an idea of what that looks like. But also remember, there's no real wrong way to do this. This is the way we did it. These are the statements we created, but create what works for you. Create what works for you. And then that gets us to our fifth step. So the fourth one is to create a statement, a purpose statement, and an identification statement for the value, whatever it might be. The fifth step is to make the commitment to live your life from these values. You know, at Unity we teach that it's not enough to simply know spiritual truth, to be aware of the truth that you're the divine light of God. You have to go out there and live your life from that place. You have to take action. And the same is true for these core values. I mean, it's wonderful if you can rattle off, oh yeah, my core values are family, strength, peace, abundance, and prosperity. But unless you've actually made the commitment to live your life from that place, they're not as effective as they could be. And so that fifth step is to make the commitment, not just to live from them, but to check in with ourselves from time to time. To ask the question, do my relationships, does my life, my work reflect my values? And know that sometimes the answer you get back is going to be no, it does not. And that's okay. We all fall into that gap from time to time. But unless we check in with them, we stay in that gap. And so we ask ourselves, are my values reflected in my life? Sometimes that gap is bigger than we thought it was. And we don't know how to begin crossing it. And so if you're in that place, I would just invite you to talk to somebody who can give you support. Talk to one of our spiritual counselors. Talk to Reverend Jan or myself. We can help give you some of those tools that can help close that gap. But closing that gap is one of the most important things we can do to manifest the light of God that we are. So these 5 steps that you have to identify or to reinvigorate your core values, first you have to know what they are. So you ask, what is important to me? Then you're going to take them deeper. And you're going to ask, what does each particular value mean to me? And you got to choose. So you ask in the third step, what values can I live my life without? And create that statement, that identity statement with the fourth step. And the fifth step is just making that commitment to check in and to live your values. So those are ways to get your personal core values back in action in your life. But here at Unity Church of Overland Park, we have values as our spiritual community as well. We have 5. We have 5 core values. We have inclusiveness as one of our values. Joy, abundance, spirit-led, and love, which is right out in our lobby. And there are a variety of ways we keep these values in front of us, because these are the values that we've all agreed as a community, this is how we want to be. And so one of the ways is, as you can see, we have these beautiful art pieces hanging in our sanctuary with the values on them, and then the love banner that's out in the lobby. Many of the staff here, we keep the values on our desk, and I realize I can't speak for all of them, but I can speak for myself and say that anytime we have a decision to make, we look to these core values. And we say, if we start this program, is that going to be in alignment with being inclusive? Or how were we spirit-led in what we did? So we use the values to inform what we create as a community. We also have on our website, if you go to the About Us section on our website and look at the Vision, Mission, and Values page, you'll find there's a 7 to 9 minute meditation for each one of these values on that page. So we have that way of keeping them in the forefront of our mind. See, it's all about keeping these values in your mind and not forgetting the truth of what you are. And one of the other ways we do that is through our core value stones. We have 1 stone for each one of these core values. And these stones are passed throughout our community. And before we get too far, I want to let you know I worked very, very hard on trying to make sure that I didn't say these stones are passed and we're passing the stones and all of that. So I'm just going to go ahead and say it now so we can all laugh. So if it slips out during the ceremony, you can still laugh. But these stones are passed from one person to the next. They were given originally to somebody that the leadership staff felt really embodied that value, and from that point on, it's been in your hands. And they've moved person to person amongst our congregation. And today we wanted to take the opportunity to just rededicate those stones. And so each person selected a recipient, and we're going to bless them, rededicate them, and pass those stones on. And so as we move into that portion of our service today, I'd just like to begin that portion just with a prayer. And so if you would just center yourselves in who and what you are, knowing that whatever your values are in this moment, we give thanks for the presence of God that is revealing them to us now. We give thanks for these shared values in our spiritual community, for the way that they guide us and support us in growing Unity Church of Overland Park. And so we rededicate ourselves in this moment to expressing the light of God that we are. And so if it's comfortable for you, I'd like to invite you to go ahead and just open your eyes. And the first stone that we'll be sharing today is a stone for our core value of spirit-led. And our current holder for that value is our board vice president, Donna Cross-White, who will be presenting it to Donna Sherman. And so as they make their way up to the platform, when each person selected a recipient, we asked them, why did you choose this person? And they wrote out what it was about that person that led them to be selected. And this is what Donna wrote about Donna. Whether she is volunteering, helping others, or attending service, Donna consistently shows up with love and light in her heart. Her calm presence reminds us of the importance of connecting with Spirit and leading with Spirit in everything that we do and say. And you'll see behind us on the screen that value statement for Spirit-led, that we turn within to Spirit for guidance and active communication. And so in this moment, we do turn within. And we bless not only Donna, but all of us, affirming in this moment that we too are led by Spirit through guidance and active communication in all that we do. And for that, we are grateful. Congratulations, Donna. And so next we'll look at our love core value. And so I'd like to invite Kathy Fetters and Melanie Geist to join us on the platform, who are the current holders of the Love Stone. And they'll be joined by Glenda and Alla, who they selected to receive it. And again, you can see that value statement for love, that as a community we express unconditional love and inner quality that sees good everywhere and in everyone. And so this is what Kathy and Melanie wrote. They said, Glenda so strongly displays the inner qualities of seeing good everywhere and in everyone. She is a remarkable woman who embodies love through her ability to always genuinely be happy and upbeat in greeting us each Sunday morning. She is dedicated to our community, and we imagine that it is the strength of love that is behind her ability to serve in so many areas, including that of a prayer chaplain. And so we bless not just Kathy and Melanie and Glenda, but we bless ourselves with that same quality of love, knowing that when we enter this building, be it on Sunday morning or any time throughout the week, that we join in with a powerful force of people, and we join in that ability to see the good everywhere present in everyone. And for that, we are grateful. So, congratulations, Glenda. And so we'll turn our attention now to our core value of abundance. That core value that says that we know that God is our source, and we celebrate the unlimited possibilities that are present in every moment. And the stone is currently held by Dan and Heather Beckett, and they'll be presenting it to Susanna Peltzy. And Dan and Heather wrote this about Susanna. They said, Susanna exemplifies the spirit of focusing on what is possible and staying in the solution in any circumstance. She gives generously of her time, talent, and treasure to where she is spiritually fed. She is guided by Spirit and consistently takes action to realize her divine potential. She is on an abundant path in her life and attracts her good with confidence and faith. And so for all of us, we see that same power of abundance flowing through us. That power that reminds us that God is our source. And so we give joyfully of our time, our talent, our treasure, knowing that we are blessed in return. And for that we are grateful. Congratulations, Susanna. And so we'll next take a look at our value of inclusiveness. And I'd like to invite the recipient for that, Gina, Nina, Namaste, her up to join me on the platform. Stacy Greathouse is the current holder of this stone, and she's not able to be with us today. But if you take a look at that definition, the idea that as part of inclusiveness, that we embrace all people everywhere as expressions of God, Gina, I just can't think of a person who does that with a more open heart than you do. I get the privilege of watching you greet at the welcome counter and welcome people into this building on Sunday mornings. And every time I watch you, it doesn't matter who it is that I see walk in, your heart is wide open. And you see them not for how they show up or who they are, but you see the light of God within them. And so I am so grateful for that example that you give to all of us, for that ability to have our heart open and to know the truth, regardless of what appears. Thank you. And our final core value stone is the value of joy. And so as Chase Lamble, who's our current holder, makes her way up here with Jade Belden, who will be receiving it. You know, it's interesting to me that this stone has stayed with youth and family ministry its entire existence. From the time we first presented it all the way through now, the value of joy has been with the children. And I can't think of a more appropriate place to have joy in this community. And so, Chase, as you present this to Jade, we just thank you both. And if you haven't had a chance to spend time upstairs with the children, their joy is infectious. So take the time to get up there and spend some time with them. Congratulations, Jade. Thank you. And so these stones, they're going to continue to move throughout this community. You know, we didn't want to set a specific time to it because the truth of the matter is there's no timetable on when that voice of wisdom and spirit speaks to you. So we didn't want to tell the recipients of it, okay, you've got 3 months for God to speak. And in that 3 months, God needs to tell you who to give it to. So at some point in the future, someone, somehow, something will happen. You'll have that internal nudge to say, it's time for this stone to move on. And I know exactly who it goes to. And so when that happens, you'll find out about it. You'll find out what the reasons are. But just know that we do this to help these values stay at the forefront of our minds. And I don't know what your personal core values are. And I also know it may not be realistic for you to have core value stones made and then you share them in your family. That's probably not as realistic as for individual core values. But what I do know is that the biggest issues of life, they seem to pop up when we find ourselves in that gap between fully engaging with what we value and just trying to experience the world around us. So find some way to keep those values in the forefront of your mind. Find some way to remind yourself that that presence of God is within you always. Because after all, expressing that presence of God is what this life is really, truly about. God bless you.